This is Nightcap. It's late in the game with the season on the line. Sudden death shootouts.
He backhands one, and he scores!
Buzzer beaters.
Three on the way. Another one, oh my!
And walk-off home runs.
Into the air, the deep left center. It is high, it is far, it is gone!
Mad Dog Radio has you covered till the final play. This is Nightcap.
2-2. He got it! 34 years, 119 games. It's finally happened. A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner. It was done by the king, Felix Hernandez.
Well, it's always in my mind. I mean, like I said, in every game. I mean, I need to throw a perfect game. You know, for every pitcher. I think it was in his mind. But today it happened, and it's something special.
Here's your host, Lance Meadow.
Well, it certainly wasn't hard finding the top story of the day as Felix Hernandez of the Seattle Mariners just rips through the Tampa Bay Rays roster today and posts a perfect game, the third of this season, the sixth no-hitter of the season, and the second for the Mariners because 6 of their pitchers earlier this year in June no-hit the Dodgers on a combined effort. Felix Hernandez, 12 strikeouts, struck out the side twice. This is a guy who is certainly living up to the billing. Top prospect coming in 2005. The unfortunate part of his career thus far has been that he just hasn't had consistent offensive support and has never been on a winning squad. But he got his opportunity to shine. And let's face it, the only way a Mariners pitcher is going to win in this day and age, you got to throw a perfect game because you know you're not going to get any offensive firepower from that anemic Mariners lineup. And Felix Hernandez did what he had to. On the other hand, for the Rays, it's truly completely inconsistent how this team performs. They go from a 7-game winning streak to all of a sudden not knowing how to hit. That's been their game plan year in and year out. And they still find a way to squeak into the postseason and turn into one of the great stories each and every baseball year. 3 times in the last 4 years, the Rays have been part of a perfect game. On the wrong side of one, I should say. Dallas Braden, Mark Burley, and now Felix Hernandez. I mean, they were barely making contact tonight. The Rays are known for their pitching. That's the bottom line. That's what's going to get them to the next step. Matt Moore, David Price, and so forth. They're not going to do it with hitting. And Felix Hernandez certainly showed that today with his performance. And it's nice to see one of the good guys that has worked on his game year in and year out, not a head case, finally put baseball on the map in a positive way. And the reason I say that is because of what Melky Cabrera brought to the forefront today. And we're certainly going to touch on that. The steroid scandal is back. Just when you thought you were going to kiss this storyline goodbye, Melky Cabrera, one of the best hitters in the game so far this year, screws the Giants for the rest of the way. The worst possible time that he could test positive was right now, when they're in the thick of a division race, they're in the mix for the wild card, and Melky Cabrera all of a sudden needed some help. Whether it was juice, whatever you want to call it, a cocktail, he got caught. Like every other player before him, they think they're better than the system. They think they'll never get caught. Well, he was wrong. And as a result, now the Giants, who finally were balancing things out this season, they weren't just known for being a team full of top-notch pitchers. They finally got the hitting to complement that. And now you lose a guy that led the league in hits, second in average, having a career year, right when the Dodgers are starting to click. And the Dodgers won tonight, the Giants lost, so the Dodgers now take a 1-game lead in that NL West race. Giants certainly still in the thick of things, but you got to wonder from a mental perspective, how is this going to affect San Francisco moving forward? Losing their top hitter, a guy that helps out the rest of the lineup, makes things much easier on Pablo Sandoval, Hunter Pence. Now they're going to have to fill a big void. And Gregor Blanco is not the answer. If you're a San Francisco Giants fan out there and you think Gregor Blanco is going to be your savior, I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. Right now, you're going to have to hope that Tim Lincecum can put together a very consistent stretch. Shaky tonight after he had 3 quality starts. And the rest of the pitching staff can pick up the slack at this point. Because the offensive attack is not going to be what it was with Melky Cabrera in the lineup. You're talking about a guy that was batting .346 with 11 homers and 60 RBI. Set the San Francisco record for most hits in May with 51. This guy was on a tear. All-Star Game MVP, he won a car, thanked his family. He was on top of the world. And finally, it was an indication that maybe this wasn't just a guy that magically turned things around after average seasons with the Yankees. Came out of the woodworks last year with the Royals, finally topped that 300 mark. Made that trade look really good for the Giants. That was an absolute steal, considering they gave up Jonathan Sanchez. What is Jonathan Sanchez doing right now? Nothing. But Melky Cabrera right now is going to do the same thing as Jonathan Sanchez. Absolutely nothing. He's going to watch from afar. Out for 50 games for testing positive for testosterone. At the worst possible moment. And you wonder why everyone in society, this goes even beyond the range of sports, why we question people's accomplishments. And this is why. Because just when you think somebody worked hard, trained hard, and is finally reaping the rewards, they cheat. I spent 2 weeks covering the Olympics. Finally, I thought I was going to get a break from rhythmic gymnastics, archery, shooting, you name it. The most obscure sports out there. Spent 2 weeks breaking that down. We had a Chinese swimmer, 16 years old. Posted a faster time than Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte. First thing that comes to mind, she's doping. A putt-shotter from Belarus has to give up her gold medal. She was caught doping. It's not just baseball. Baseball's setting the tone, and everybody else is following that lead. And that's why a 16-year-old swimmer from China, you can't take her word for it that she's accomplishing all of this herself. Because you watch baseball players shine, go from hitting .255 one season to hit .300, and you think, okay, maybe the guy's entering his prime. Maybe he's turned the corner. And then later on in the season, we find out at the All-Star break, he tests positive for testosterone. Put the tape in, press rewind, and watch it all over again. It's the same thing. I got to give him credit, though, Melky Cabrera. Because compared to some of the other guys that have been in similar situations, at least he didn't throw out the lame excuse that he unknowingly took an illegal substance. So we give him some kudos for that. Issued a statement through the union, accepted the punishment, won't appeal it, will fulfill the punishment like a man and move on. Whereas everybody else who has tested positive prior has given you every excuse in the book they've thrown out. So at least Melky didn't take that path. But for a guy that was entering free agency, this is a really big loss for him. Who's going to throw money at Melky Cabrera right now? If I'm the San Francisco Giants, I'm not re-signing him. And as far as other teams are concerned, you're going to take a risk if you throw some money at him. He'll be lucky if he get a one-year deal at this point. And what does it also say about the Giants organization, by the way? Guillermo Mota, who's going to be eligible to come back later this month, served 2 separate 50-game suspensions. The Giants lead the pack compared to the rest of the league when it comes to the most players who have been caught cheating. And I haven't even thrown out a guy named Barry Bonds. Bonds tops the list, even though they may have not gotten the positive test. And I believe Bonds was at the game today and got a standing ovation. How ironic that is. Barry Bonds showing up at the ballpark today on a day where the next generation following his lead to try to get an edge. And I really thought Melky Cabrera was one of the great stories to come out of baseball this season. Was in the shadows of a lot of superstars with the Yankees. Moved to the Braves, so-so. Finally got an opportunity with the Royals. Put up some real solid numbers. He had 201 hits in 2011. And carried that momentum into this season with San Francisco. And you finally thought San Francisco was putting things together between their pitching and their hitting. And then you get this. And now the Giants are back to square one. Because they're going to have to lean on that rotation from here on out. It's going to change how pitchers approach the Giants. Melky Cabrera, if you look at just as any other lineup across the league, how solid and balanced they are. One guy protects the other in the lineup. Now you don't have Melky anymore, and you certainly don't have a guy that you could turn to in the snap of a finger to fill that void who's going to put up the numbers that Cabrera did. 346, 11 homers, and 60 RBI. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Giants respond. And they didn't bounce back that quickly today as the Nationals beat them 6-4. It was a pitching duel between Strasburg and Lincecum. We'll get into Strasburg later with that whole Nationals game plan to bench their top ace, even if they're in the mix of a playoff run. That's an absolute joke. So that's a whole other topic we'll touch on, connected somewhat to the Giants since they're in the midst of a series. I want to also hit on this UNC academic scandal, which is a disgrace to higher education. Forget athletics at the collegiate level. Every person that goes to college right now or who has a college degree and worked hard over 4 years with their classes, found a way to balance their studies with their social life, should be ashamed at what North Carolina pulled. And everyone who pays $40,000 to $50,000 probably is even more at this point, since I'm somewhat removed from my college days. If you're a parent right now, you've got to be appalled by this. That North Carolina was allowing its football players, and maybe even some basketball players, to sit in a classroom and fill out whatever grade they wanted to justify that they can get by and be eligible to play football. This is what college athletics is all about today. And I don't want to compare it to the Penn State situation. That was another terrible situation, which the NCAA came down hard. But the NCAA now has to do something with respect to North Carolina. They can't protect one of the winningest programs all time now. And I know they're paying the price for some of the players receiving ineligible gifts from agents. But somebody's got to answer for this academic fraud. So we'll touch on that also over the next 2 hours as we're with you till 1 Eastern here on Mad Dog Radio, Sirius XM 86. 888-623-3646 is the telephone number. 888-623-3646. Want to hear your thoughts on anything that is happening in the world of sports, anything that caught your attention tonight. You can also follow me on Twitter at Lance Meadow. One word, last name spelled M-E-D-O-W. So if you prefer social media over the phones, feel free to chime in on the conversation that way.